Our final talk is by the Men in Black. No, it's not our final talk. I'm sorry, we do have one.
Where's the sunglasses?
You guys need some shade, yeah. So, these guys were invited to Micron to give this talk last Friday because the project is sponsored by Micron. The sponsor for the project is actually one of our recent graduates from engineering here, JJ McNeil. Where's JJ at? There's JJ. Thank you and thank Micron for sponsoring this. We really appreciate it. And for serving your alma mater and helping us with our engineering program. So these guys have a little practice, and with that I'll introduce Ryan Horton and Richie Grindstaff with the Rapid Response Rescue Drone.
Good afternoon. As Dr. Bark said, I'm Ryan Horton and this is Richie Grindstaff, and we're both senior engineering students here at NU. We were both on engineering research projects here, both working about 16 months on those. I'm working on the robotics vision research team, working with aerial imaging with drones over agriculture, whereas Richie is working on a ground-based robot in agriculture called the IDABot. And our senior project is the Rapid Response Rescue Drone Project, R3D, sponsored by Micron.
So we're going to start off with some project scope. So we're going to give you an overview with a problem statement and then some requirements and deliverables.
So according to an article found in the Journal of Wilderness and Environmental Medicine, over 78,000 people were involved in a search and rescue related incident between the years of 1992 and 2007. So the goal of our project was to develop a prototype that could assist search and rescue personnel to locate individuals who had become lost or injured in the backcountry.
So our project requirements is a backpack deployable UAV, so that's unmanned aerial vehicle, and it's going to be capable of stable flight. It's going to have an airborne search pattern. It's going to use Micron memory and use a GPS as well as a camera, and then meet all safety standards and have an object avoidance system.
So the deliverables is to deliver a 3DR Iris Plus drone capable of autonomous flight to a given GPS location, as well as autonomous flight of a search pattern. Also capable of relaying live video feed data back to a user. Also autonomous object avoidance system and utilization of Micron memory. We'd also deliver a controller and a screen to go with the system, and a backpack that would fit the entire system and have the entire system cost under $2,000.
So now that we've talked a little bit about our project scope, we're going to move into our initial design process and talk about some of the alternatives that we considered, and also look at a couple of design matrices.
So to give you a bit of an idea of how our analysis of alternatives went, we looked at different alternatives for our prototype, the platform itself. So we had the quadcopter, a fixed wing hexcopter, and an octocopter were all ideas for platforms that we could use.
So here you can see our matrix for determining which platform we are going to go with. And so we made this matrix based on the desirables that we had, but also on the deliverables that we needed to present. And so we had to have stable flight, it had to fit in a backpack, so that ruled out some platforms. We also wanted a low cost, we wanted a high flight range, we wanted a lot of space if we wanted to deliver some type of object like an EpiPen or a water bottle. We wanted a pretty easy user interface. We also wanted a small size, and we wanted like limited debug time, and we also wanted a significant amount of payload capacity.
So from all that, the quadcopter one, specifically the 3DR Iris Plus drone, this was our pick because it was freely available to us because we were donated, or not donated, but allowed to borrow one from the school itself here, so that was free to use. It was also free open hardware system, so we could easily integrate stuff with the system itself. And it was relatively small to be able to fit in a backpack for the backpack deployability.
So for object avoidance, we had some different alternative designs. So we looked at using a LiDAR system, we also looked at ultrasonic sensors, and we looked at image processing like is seen on DJI's Phantom 4.
So after doing another design matrix for that, we decided to select both the LiDAR and an ultrasonic. The LiDAR actually ultimately won, but because of its price, we could only afford to really put one on the drone. So we also selected ultrasonics that they're cheap and we wouldn't be needing them for the direct line of flight. So that was what we selected for the object.
So for search patterns, for our search method, we came with a couple of different ideas. So we could lock onto GPS coordinates. Someone would have a beacon that would send up a GPS signal, we could go to that location. Alternatively, we could do image processing again to search for the individual, not just for object avoidance. We also thought about doing search patterns, and then we thought about doing like an avalanche beacon, the same way that ham radios would do like a fox hunt.
So in selecting, the GPS was already given based upon our platform that we had. The Iris Plus has a GPS in the PixHawk itself, well, connected to the PixHawk, which is the flight controller itself. We chose path and search patterns. This was due to the cheapness of being able to program the drone itself to do this versus a beacon locator. Not only would the person have to have a beacon on them, but it would also be more expensive to implement that into our drone.
So now we've talked about a little bit about our design process. We're going to talk about the hardware systems. So we're going to talk about interfacing our different devices together and then mounting them on the platform itself.
So this is a overall block diagram of our entire project. So you can see it's broken down in 3 main subsystems. So you have the location method, the drone and object avoidance. We'll get into the mission planner, what that means, but based upon our 3DR Iris drone that we selected, that was the main software that we used. So this is the specifications from the manufacturer of the 3DR Iris Plus drone. As you can see, it has, it's fairly lightweight, so for the backpack deployability, its flight time is relatively alright, being around 16 to 22 minutes from the manufacturer. It also comes with a Terra GoPro gimbal. It doesn't actually come with the drone, but it can easily be interfaced with.
So the 3DR uses a PixHawk controller, and it's a microcontroller that's open hardware. So it has a lot of ports that are just freely available to be used. And so it also has sensors built into it. So it has a 3D accelerometer, it has a gyroscope, a magnetometer, and barometer that were already included in the system. And then we were able to add in our LiDAR and ultrasonics using ADCs, UARTs, and other interfaces that it comes with. So this is the disassembly of the drone. So this is the large block diagram. So as you can see, there's the PixHawk is in the center, and it's what's sending the signal to the motor controller itself. It's also receiving the signal from the transmitter, and also sending back a signal to the computer to relay all of its specific information.
So the 3DRS uses the mission planner software. So this is actually a picture on your computer, not necessarily the screen. You're receiving live data back from the drone. So this would be seen on your computer itself. This is using Google Maps to place the drone by GPS on the map. You have your accelerometer data on the sides as well as pitch, yaw, and roll. You can change different parameters within and code it to read different sensors that you have plugged into the PixHawk. This is a very useful piece of software to use throughout flying the drone.
So here are our LiDAR and ultrasonic sensors. So we have the LiDAR Lite V3. It has a 0.5 degree beam spread, and we did some math and found out that would be a good enough spread for our purposes, be accurate enough without giving us a lot of extra data that we needed. It also has a 40-meter range, which is 131 feet, and it was $150. The ultrasonic sensor that we went with was $30, and is really used for large object detection. So it can detect the ground and bodies, but anything smaller than about half an inch, and it won't detect.
So we wired up the LiDAR and the ultrasonic to the PixHawk. We used PWM for the peripheral for the LiDAR, and then a AC for the ultrasonic. So as you can see here, this is the PixHawk, and we're wiring them into these different ports. The PWM was actually on the back on the rail. And here you can see some LiDAR data that we actually captured from the drone itself. So these are tests. So we had the LiDAR on and set up a distance to, it was a wall, I think is what we had. We were moving one of the displays out in the hallway. And we just collected all the data, and then we put it in Excel and ran through an algorithm to see how to calibrate the data to get more accurate results. And that's what you're seeing here. You can see it's a nice straight line once we finally got it right. So one issue we ran into was actually powering the LiDAR itself. It requires about 5 volts of power or a voltage. We hooked it up originally on that test to a outside power source. So to actually get the 5 volts we needed, we used the CAN peripheral on the PixHawk, and we wired it to the back rail. So this back rail where the PWM, where the LiDAR was hooked to the PWM output, we wired that with 5 volts from the CAN port, so we could actually have it wirelessly connected to the drone and not connected to anything on the ground or a separate power source other than the battery itself.
So once we wired that up, we also found another device that used between 5 volts and 26 volts, and that was our camera that we decided to go with. It's the FLIR Duo, so it's an IR camera as well as a visual camera. So this gives us a thermal reading as well as our visual reading. So when you're flying over dense forests and a place where there's a lot of imagery to look at once, we thought it would be nice to have some way to see there's a person there or there's something that's different than the rest. And so in order to do that, we decided that thermal camera would be our best option. And we chose the FLIR Duo because we didn't have to compromise and choose one or the other. And so the FLIR Duo sends this information via I believe it's USB, yes, to the video transmitter, and that transmits it back to a small video screen that we have, and you can change which version you want to see. So you go in and you change in the camera if you want it to send out the thermal camera or the visual camera, or you can do a picture-in-picture so you get both of them with a little bit less screen for each one. So this is a 3D part we had to, or the part we had to print for using a 3D printer for the camera. So the turret gimbal is made for a GoPro Hero 3. Unfortunately, the FLIR is a little different in form factor, mainly that it has 2 lenses instead of 1. And so we had to create our own parts in order to attach it to the gimbal, and that's what we used for this.
So the part was also 3D printed to hook the LiDAR to the drone itself. We utilized a utility bar on the drone. It's actually on the front so that it would swivel, so that pre-flight you could adjust the angle of the LiDAR in which it was facing. So you can see here, this is the part we 3D printed to fit that.
So now we're going to talk about some system functionality. We're going to look at some search pattern abilities, some IR camera location, and then also some hazard detection.
So this is an image taken from Mission Planner itself. So there's actually software in here where you can write waypoints based upon GPS. So this is actually a search pattern we demonstrated to fly the drone along this yellow line. This is the part of Mission Planner you see from here, so it's under flight plan rather than flight data itself, which was the last image of Mission Planner. So you can adjust waypoints and adjust what the drone does at those waypoints. So there are different waypoints that you can write. Given a waypoint file, you can write it to the drone. So as long as you had a flash drive with waypoint files that you wanted to write, you could simply plug that into your laptop and write them to the drone, and then you could give it a given search pattern that you had already made previously and have it fly. So these are 2 examples of 2 different search patterns. This one is just a spiral. Waypoints don't actually slow it down if you don't set them to, so the more waypoints you have, the smoother you can have the spiral. And this other one is just following a road over by Lake Bowl.
So these are some of the images captured by the FLIR camera. So as you can see in the one to your left, there's what looks like bones, and there's another heat signature next to it. So with the FLIR, there's 2 lenses on it, as I said earlier, and there's a patented software called MSX that runs on the camera itself, and that's multispectral imaging. It's combining both the visual and thermal camera, but since they're coming from different lenses, there's a parallax issue, which is why my body doesn't necessarily line up with my heat signature. But since you can still see that there's a heat signature there, and there is some shape there, you can easily identify that that's a human body and not just something on the ground. So Python scripts were used to interface with Mission Planner. So we're doing object avoidance as well as doing different flight plans in Python itself. So the Python scripts actually run on the laptop, and they send commands to the quadcopter through a radio antenna. So, for example, with object avoidance, when the quadcopter finds an object, it sends back to the laptop that there's an object within 3 meters of where I am right now. And then the computer will tell it, okay, we'll go into loiter mode, just hover there for a while until we give control back to the user. And then the user will go and move the quadcopter to a safe location and then switch back into auto mode. And then the laptop will continue to issue commands on where the quadcopter should fly to next to complete the search pattern. In addition, we've also created some search patterns that don't require to be pre-planned. So someone could take this drone out, place it in the middle of nowhere, and say, I want you to fly. We have 2 search patterns. One is a spiral, another one is the back and forth pattern that you saw earlier. But they can take it to the middle of nowhere and say, I want you to fly a spiral with a certain radius right here. And it would take off and it would fly that pattern based on their home location and not on the location of the Mac.
So a 40-liter outdoor backpack was obtained to use as the backpack deployability bag. It's just a small, like you can see here, outdoor backpack, and it's able to fit the drone itself. This is a picture of it actually in there, and then just able to hold all the other equipment as well. So our final system integration is the 3DR Iris Plus drone with these modifications made, with LiDAR and ultrasonic for object avoidance, as well as a camera to locate a lost individual, in this case a duo, and then also GPS guided path and search pattern as well. The final weight was under 1.4 kilograms. The max payload, so payload, we originally had thought that if you were to do an actual payload delivery, you would do that after finding the person, so you could have the drone come back, land, you would swap batteries, and then fly a direct flight to them. Because you would no longer need since you would have the GPS coordinates of the person after flying, you would be able to remove the gimbal completely, and ideally you would have a small camera that you could use to actually fly the drone, so you could safely deliver that package back. You could fly a direct waypoint to there, and then it would be landing that you would need the camera for to actually drop the payload. So with that being said, you could carry about half a kilogram on that flight with the gimbal being removed. So the total cost of this entire drone is under $2,000. That's including the price of the drone and the gimbal, for which we did not have to pay because it was given to us to borrow. And the search pattern C+, that's how many we made that could actually be moved around with the drone and not actually, you would have to make once you got to a location. You could just set the drone, it would get your location, and then make that pattern based on that.
So here we have a video of it actually flying.
So this is a drone flying that simple cross-back pattern that we showed. So this is from the FLIR's RGB camera on there, on board. As you can see, it's just pointing at the ground and looking at grass as it flies. And then in a second, we'll show you the...
So this is the IR, so this is the thermal footage. So one thing with the FLIR that we noticed is that it highlights the hottest thing that it sees. So that's why you're seeing a lot of red right now, is that's all the underground activity that's going on. It's not an absolute heat. It's relative to the hottest thing on the camera. But as you can see, that eye show up pretty well on the camera. So it's pretty easy to spot individuals.
And to the right, you see our final completed drone, which is also there as well. So we'd like to acknowledge Micron for sponsoring this project, specifically JJ. Thank you for helping us on this project. Also, Mini Muse, specifically Dr. Buchanan, for allowing us to borrow his drone and screen and gimbal as well. We also borrowed their GoPros before we got the IR camera itself, and also Dr. Park for being our advisor. Thank you, and are there any questions?
Yeah, when in your design, did you think about, will it survive doing a search in a snowstorm or in a rainstorm?
So we talked about this as well. So yeah, in rain, currently that would need to be weatherproof itself. Flying drones in weather has not been the greatest thing. Having worked all summer flying drones, we could not fly in over about 15 mile per hour, which was about the max, and that was pushing it. So yes, there's that issue definitely for what sort of weather you could actually fly in. And so, no, we did not do any tests in weather because I have flown in some weather and it's not good for the drone itself. Yeah.
And do you need to be someplace that has an internet connection to be able to use Google Earth for an mission planner?
So for the pre-programmed flights, you don't need any internet connection. You could just take it there and it would take off. For the imagery in Google Earth, it would not show you the exact imagery unless it were pre-downloaded on your computer. But it would still take the flight pattern. It would still keep the GPS coordinates. It would still follow those.
Dr. Becker.
How accurate is GPS, and what do you do when there are winds? Because obviously it probably takes that into account as you continue to fly whatever battery program.
With the what? What was your second? With the winds? What?
Second question is, the winds, if there are winds that
Oh, if there are
cause a
winds.
drift, does your GPS correct?
Yes, it does. We flew in some wind and it would correct for that. The GPS is, I think, about within 2-meter accuracy. It's not super great, but it's good enough for a rough estimate. Yes.
In regards to your payload that you guys are carrying, half a kilogram, right? That'd be like 1 pound. And this actually doubles up on Dr. Packer's question. Were you actually able to simulate anything where there was some sort of significant weather, right? So drag will add to that force, right? If you were to assume no wind at all, 1 pound would be adequate. But were you guys actually able to simulate carrying something through maybe a little bit of wind, see what your maximum payloads would be? I mean, aside from just a windless flight.
So we actually did one of the flights with half a kilogram on it, and it was in the winter, so it was snow. It was slight wind. That was actually before we found the loiter command, so I was having to fly it with the wind because we were not actually doing a pre-programmed flight at that point. And yes, so the weight will add some drag, but it will actually not have it drift as much with the wind because it's heavier. That's
But you had 13 minutes with that situation. You had 13 minutes of flight time with
Nice.
half a kilogram in the wind.
I mean, but if you were to implement this one for search pattern or rescue operation, have you specified any operational height that your drone will be working on?
No, so you can adjust the height in the waypoints based upon the terrain you're in. You'd probably want to start out with about 100 feet, especially in tree areas, so make sure you're above the trees. And we did not specify a specific height for what you should fly based upon where you're at.
And before we do that,
you
we
have shown two search patterns, one spiral and the other is the kind of zigzag system. Have you compared their efficiency with regards to area covered and time that it takes for it to cover a certain area?
No, we have not. We've done
Can you go back to your decision?
that. Which one do you want? We have
The very first one, deciding what typing and flight angle, or machine, I guess. I was just wondering, why is the octocopter cheaper than a hex?
because we also had that here and available.
Oh,
to
okay.
us. So we took into
Yeah.
So on this matrix, we took into account the availability to us. So that's why the octocopter, the hexacopter, we have one, but it wasn't operational. The octocopter we actually could have possibly used and taken that.
Do you have a breakdown of your costs?
Yeah.
It's way down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the actual quadcopter, how much is that? Would that be?
Okay, so you can buy the Iris for $500.
Okay, so even if you had to buy everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would say
That,
that.
that camera.
And then the gimbal itself is $60. Yes, Dr. Line.
How many big socks have you destroyed?
Just the motor control.
How many?
How many of mine?
The
Well,
motor
no
controller.
fixed hops, but one motor control.
One motor controller.
Yes.
How big a pattern can you?
You tested your system out here,
Yes.
a nice open
Yes.
area around it, and did you actually take it to look for anything of substance in a tree, forested, where the hikers tend to get lost area, to see whether or not you can see through the foliage, how much coverage?
We have not tested that yet.
I'm telling you, there's bonus. The grades aren't due until a week from Tuesday.
Yeah, right.
And if I
Come
get
on.
an FLIR video taken in Jump Creek of some human or animal, there's extra credit still available.
How big a Then again, pattern- how the big a prayer pattern? chapel would probably do it. Heavily wooded. How big a pattern can you look at? Is it just time dependent?
Yes, it's 100% time dependent. So this one, with the 500 grams, with just what we have on there right now is actually only about 300 grams. So So with the 500 grams, we could fly for about 13 minutes. If you were to actually implement this, you would probably, because of our budget, we use this drone. There are drones that fly a lot longer that you could implement this on.
I've seen drones up to like 45 minutes of flight time.
And you can just expand that snake pattern as big as you want it.
Exactly.
You probably just need that.
Yeah, there's also the ability you can have it come back. So this drone's not the best in that you can't get a live battery reading on how much percentage is left. But there are drones that have that, and you could fly it back partway through, and there's resume mission. So after you came back, you could swap a battery and keep going on that mission as well.
Can you describe what happens when the LiDAR detects a hazard? The chain of events that occur after the LiDAR detects a hazard?
Okay, so on the drone, the LiDAR would detect a hazard. It's a threshold reading, so it could be 3 meters, 5 meters, however safe you want it to be, honestly. And it would relay that to the computer. The computer would send a command telling it to go into a loiter mode, which is a hover mode. So it goes into a mostly autonomous hover. And that transfers the control from the computer over to the user who's watching the video feed. And then they could maneuver the drone using the transmitter around the obstacle and then switch it back into a full autonomous mode, and it would resume the mission. Yeah.
So I go hunting a lot with Dr. Nagalis, who's notorious for getting lost. Where we go hunting is on the side of very steep mountains. How would it deal with a terrain that had a very high elevation difference over your search pattern?
Right now, we're not actually taking that into account. In the future, we could add another LiDAR to the bottom that would measure the altitude. Alternatively, you could have waypoints that are made for a specific map section. So you could say there's a cliff here that raises 20 feet, and you can have that alter the altitude of the plane itself. But currently, we're not doing any of that.
You have sonar, but no LiDAR point. You have
Right.
sonar point.
We have sonar, which gets us about 4 meters. Is about the accuracy of it.
So right now, get hurt in a open field on a flat level ground.
Yeah. Or with a gentle slope. We can measure gentle slope.
Gentle slope.
Any other final questions? Yes, Shane.
So you said you could load a other flight pattern with a flash drive?
Yeah, you could. If you have it, if it's in a waypoint file.
So the important question there is that micron flash?
Yes.
So, how big of an SD card can you put in it so that you can download a lot of this? You could download terrain type maps and incorporate a little bit more smarts.
So that would be actually within the computer portion. So as big as a flash drive as you have. For the camera, as far as like recording time, I think like 64 gigabytes is the max of the camera that I've seen. So they can record up to 64 gigabytes of video while you're flying.
And about 10 minutes of recording on the camera itself. It's about 200 megabytes for the regular video, and then about a gig for the IR.
So I thought you said you can look at the video from
Yes,
around.
it's live.
Right.
So it is, what's the range on that?
What's the? Yeah, we don't know the total range.
It depends on your environment and how many obstacles are between
So
you
basically,
and the
you
drone.
can record it from the ground as well, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
good.
Yep.
Which would be
Does the camera function mess up your flight time? Heat up your flight time?
Yes, it'll take some away because it's taking power from the rail that we're getting from the camera.
You
So
know
yes,
how
it
much,
will.
or are all these numbers included?
Yeah. So that it will lower. These tests were not done with the camera running at the time.
So there's a proposal that came out a couple weeks ago for a network of drones in a city activated by the 911 call center to deliver voice-activated AED devices that are less than a half a kilogram, tiny little AEDs that are voice-activated directly to a patient quicker than any kind of ambulance response or EMT response. So do you have any comment on the application of your drone to delivering AED devices devices for resuscitating patients?
Assuming there was more than one patient there, if there was a person to observe to actually, attach the device and use the commands, our drone would be a viable platform for that.
You don't have a small robot that can call off the drone? and-
We can make one.
You're saying James Bond did it to himself.
It's true. Okay, thank you.